Yeah, used to you'd have to connect the signal, then hit the go live button. Now it's like, oh, the signal's already there, and we're already live, by the way. It's like, oh, okay, yes. Excited,
Okay,
feisty.
I'm glad I stopped masturbating before the button went live, I guess.
It is
Hello there,
live now.
everyone. How are you all feeling today? And no, YouTube, this would not be a good time to add a fucking ad.
Well, the beginning is the best time for ads for more money.
Apparently. So, we gotta talk about an old game today. Well, old. Old and old and old. See, it feels like an old game because Cyberpunk 2077 came out like Christmas 2020, like December something. And yet, despite only being like a year and a half old at this point, it feels old because, well, it was in development for like a decade previously, then it came out, and at best, people agreed that it was mediocre, and at worst, it was a broken mess on consoles, and everyone kind of just moved on from it, and CD Projekt Red as well just kind of dropped it to the point where the upcoming DLC, Phantom Liberty, they have officially announced is the only piece of major DLC they've got planned for the game.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah,
wow.
it's dead. I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole. That DLC is just there to milk it one last time because it was in development and it's too late to stop. Yeah, it's a dead game. I didn't know they had basically pulled the plug like that. Okay.
It's in a weird state of being because I too am one of those people who think that Cyberpunk isn't a bad game. It was nowhere near the hype, and the writing was terrible.
It's thoroughly mediocre, which seems to be the general consensus about people. To a lot of people when it first came out, right? They were very hurt, and emotion can be very strong, right? You expected a great game, and so your great game is just meh, which is basically the worst thing ever. The game is just mediocre. It's forgettable at the best of times. It's got some weird design decisions across the board, and really lacks soul or polish to any sensible degree.
And it was hyped up to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, and had been hyped up for a very long time. And I mean, a lot of it did look really good. I mean, they had Keanu Reeves as a companion character. Like, holy shit, that will be amazing. The only problem is the character wasn't written for Keanu Reeves, and so when he moved in, it just, again, it didn't feel good. It did not. It didn't help either that Johnny Silverhand was the main character, and you were a two-bit side character who was dragged along on his story, which is the last thing I want to see in my first-person FPS RPGs, but, well, details.
Yeah, he did actually. The way the story was, it really sucked the wind out of a lot of people, especially when the rumor about the endings came out, and that it was actually you weren't the main character.
That was the one that finished me. Like, I was doing a series on the game, and the moment I heard that, I, like, not interested. Like, all I'm doing is pointless because I'm gonna die because the main character is gonna take over my body. Like, what?
But there's a part where you can basically be a cuck and you can let him have your body. And be like, okay, you can have my body. So, all right.
Yeah. God damn it. And the worst part is too, right? So this 300% increase in player count, which has got it up to, I think I saw numbers where it was up to like 40,000 people, to the point where it surpassed Elden Ring. It's got 5,000 recent reviews in the last 30 days, with an enormous spike when Edgerunners came out.
I have a quick question. Did it surpass Elden Ring in Elden Ring's current withered state now, or are you talking about Elden Ring at the peak of its, height?
Oh, Cyberpunk is absolutely demolished Elden Ring's at the peak of its hype. Like, Cyberpunk's highest player count was like 500,000 people because of all the goddamn hype.
Oh, yeah.
But it is currently, so, and I want to point out too, like, Elden Ring is a single-player experience. It's meant to be finished. It is not meant to be a game you play forever, nor is Cyberpunk, for that matter. So it's a bit of an unfair comparison, but Elden Ring was the biggest game recently, so,
Yeah. Okay, we're just curious about that part.
But this is again the only reason we're talking about this now is because of Edgerunners, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which let me see if I can find the thing here. I brought it up. I'll just send it across once I rediscover it in my horde of tabs.
The discovery of links begins now.
Yep, I sent you the Rotten Tomatoes one. Cyberpunk Edgerunners, 100% critic score, which is nothing special. They're paid fucking shills. But a 98% average audience score.
That is pretty high.
That is higher than Arcane on 96. Like, I think it is actually the single highest rated animated show on the site.
That is a very high. What's the total number of reviews? Because the percents are cute, but like, what's the actual? Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if they note it anywhere.
I really don't want to support you.
Oh, well,
it's like enable ads and like, no, I kind of want you to starve to death. Actually,
me too. I don't actually think they give the total number of reviews. I can look at it on the IMDb page has 7,000 reviews, so it's not insignificant. Like, it probably isn't a ridiculous outlier where there's 100 people who's reviewed this. This is probably a relatively legitimate average, as far as, review aggregate websites go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think there's any reason for them to really interfere here.
No,
but I like how you're thinking that way.
Either. And I gotta admit, like, I don't think I'd give it a 98, like a basically flawless 10, but I feel like a bit of my judgment against the show is also because I've watched a little bit too much Studio Trigger. Because, to be fair, whilst I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners is an excellent piece of media, and it made me hate the game, because it showed me what the game could have been, and okay, there's this trailer on the Steam store page right now, which shows footage of the game overlap with footage of the game, because there's a lot of overlap in the story it's telling, but the anime does it a million times better, to the point that I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I fucking wish your game did this.
Yeah.
And okay. I was saving this one because there was a super chat from Boog that came in before we started saying, I am all alone, fighting on a hill against an endless horde of trigger simps. We'll find no fault in anything they do and proclaim it the greatest thing ever since the last thing they released.
Yeah, that's also true. Like, get what he's saying.
Oh yeah, no, I am more than happy to take that, because here's the thing, Studio Trigger, they have a rather one-track mind. Like, as much as I do adore Lucy, the main character de facto from Edgerunner, and she is a good character, she also has a lot of overlap with the Studio Trigger character. In fact, her design is eerily similar to what was her, like, the character from Darling in the Franxx?
Oh,
the
I
pink-haired
see
one.
what you're saying. I mean, the studio is notorious for the fact that they are sometimes called creatively bankrupt. But here's the thing. Well, yes, they are in a way creatively bankrupt. This is true, but people know what they're getting. See, I'll defend people on this point because I understand and kind of sympathize that people are tired of shitty content, right? And is Studio Trigger good? No, probably not. But do they recycle lots of the stuff and things they do? Yeah, they do. But at least with them, you know what you're getting. Yeah, they're bankrupt creatively, but at least you know what's on the tin is going to be inside the tin, so to speak.
Like, I sent you a couple pictures there of the Darling in the Franxx. I did not like Darling in the Franxx. Like, I thought it was very banal, honestly.
Oh, I don't watch Studio Trigger stuff. Like, I just don't find it good.
Well, you should actually give Edgerunner a go, because it is a pretty damn good story. And for somebody who doesn't like Studio Trigger, it'd be interesting to see what you thought. But you can very clearly see the similarities in design there already. In personality too, there's a lot of overlap, and in their history as well, there's a lot of overlap. They're not the same character, but it is definitely a weakness of Studio Trigger that they tend to well, let's say that when they find a winning formula, they stick to it.
I mean, if it works, it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as the saying goes, right?
Precisely. And I mean, the animation quality is excellent. Like, it's Studio Trigger, so it's going to have some pretty hefty color palettes, but at the same time, it's Cyberpunk. Neon is a part of the deal, certainly.
Now, one of the reasons why I'm actually probably not going to watch the show is it boils down to I don't like Cyberpunk. The setting is it's so overdone now that it's almost nauseous. It's the same thing when remember we had the zombie game phase, the World War II game phase, or these popular trends, or the modern warfare phase. It's like, okay, now everybody's doing it. Now, in the Cyberpunk case, everybody's doing it, and they're kind of doing it half-assedly. So we're getting nothing but, well, shit, which kind of sucks actually. So I don't know, maybe.
That's the thing. You should give it a go because this is not overdone Cyberpunk. In fact, this is the closest to the idea of Cyberpunk I think I've seen, because it introduces you to a world that is fucking nasty. Like, it is not a nice world, and it is the one weakness of the show that I will say is that there was not enough of it. Now, in part, that's because I was just really enjoying myself, but it was also because they didn't take quite enough time, in my opinion. A couple more episodes would have really eased it in there, because if you're a Studio Trigger veteran, you see the writing on the wall pretty damn early, and a couple more episodes to kind of ease you in would have done a lot to obfuscate that writing, shall we say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might help. There, now the images are loading. Yeah, they kind of all just look the same. The only difference is just hairstyle, I guess. This is a problem though in anime as a whole, though, when it comes to if you want to break down because anime is a sort of like umbrella, and you can do a lot with it after having worked with it, where you can actually differentiate them. But it's easier to animate this because it's like, well, it's the thing, so to speak. So I can kind of understand, because animations ain't easy, ain't cheap either. Excuse me.
And it is also a question of character design. Like, character design, particularly for anime, is hard because it is a very trope-filled field. And it's kind of like trying to compete against World of Warcraft. And if you already have World of Warcraft, just World of Warcraft 2.0 ain't gonna cut it. You're gonna have to do something new or interesting or way different. It's one of the reasons why I often have praised the Mato Seihe no Slave manga, because whoever's doing the character design for that is a fucking genius, or on one hell of a roll, since he has managed to avoid almost all of the usual tropes while spitting out a ton of good-looking characters, which is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of Trigger's talents, in my opinion.
Normally their talent is like fluid of motion, but their animations, they either click for you or they don't. They like their dynamic shots, I'll say that much.
Yes, and Edgerunner has a lot of that as well. But very clearly, like, this has hit an audience here. Now, Darling in the Franxx 2 certainly hit an audience. Like, it was a massive hit in and of its own self, which is one of those things I'll probably never quite get, but it was a hit. There you go. And it gave them enough name to cooperate with CD Projekt Red to give us Edgerunners, which I do genuinely believe deserved its reputation here. So fantastic.
I mean, it's better than the game, and that's not hard, but still, it's something.
Well, it opens up an interesting little idea here, because, okay, this is, in many ways, is the Cyberpunk 2077 storyline, in many ways, but done a hell of a lot better. It might make you wonder if the guys over at CD Projekt Red might look at this and go, hold on, maybe they're onto something. Because one of the interesting things they announced, whilst also announcing that Phantom Liberty would be the only major piece of DLC for Cyberpunk 2077, is that they still had plans to continue expanding the universe, and they specifically mentioned also continued cooperations with Studio Trigger. Which makes me wonder if a Cyberpunk 2 might not be in the making for a game. And you know what? I think it might be the correct choice. Because 2077, for all of its all-rightishness, is always going to have that weight of that awful main storyline on its back. Everyone I know who enjoys the game is like, yeah, no, I'm just not playing the main storyline. And it's never going to escape from that. So just cutting the ties entirely and going with a brand new installment, and then be humble about the fuck-ups of the preceding ones, and then maybe do a closer cooperation with Studio Trigger, from a business standpoint, it seems like a very good idea.
I don't think they're gonna do that. Also, what are your thoughts on the their dislike towards Studio Trigger when it came to the fucking what you call it, lolly character, Rebecca?
Well,
I believe was her name.
I was actually going to move on into that, so I'll give you the Sankaku Complex link here that talked about this, because this is an interesting one. Because here's the thing, right? This seems like a slam dunk. You've got an unbelievably popular anime that even the most skeptical of fans were like, yeah, holy shit. And everyone is loving it. And at the same time, everyone is looking at it and going, like, I wish this was what you'd made, CD Projekt Red. Here's the thing. I suspect what's going to happen is the same thing that happened when Darth from Darth Mod went to Creative Assembly and said, like, hey, I can fix your game. I can make your games good again. And they told him to go fuck himself. Because what's happening here is the creative guys behind CD Projekt Red might be looking at this and thinking to themselves, well, why do they get all the credit? They're stealing our thunder now, and everyone seems to agree they did a better job. And people don't like hearing that. It's a very difficult thing for a human, a creative person especially, to be told that somebody else did your thing, but better.
Yep. It's like they made this game, they put all this effort into it. No, I think their internal reaction among most of them is hatred or jealousy or envy, because I
don't know if I'd say hatred, but jealousy and envy I would say probably.
Oh, it starts with envy and jealousy, but it ends up with hatred, because they've been upstaged so hilariously here that its success in terms of business politics is damning.
Yeah,
put it that way.
That is what I'm worried about. Now, if CD Projekt Red are the bigger men here and can go like, okay, we see the point and embrace it, then there might be gold at the end of the rainbow. But that's a big if. And I will say too, so the Rebecca character, the point you mentioned, there should be a couple of images of Rebecca there. Lolly character, I suppose, but honestly, more so than Lolly, I would say the inspiration was perhaps Harley Quinn, honestly, because body type, sure, but I mean, this is Cyberpunk, right? You can have any body type you fucking want. The concept of Lolly seems kind of pointless in this setting, frankly, but, details. And the CD Projekt Red guys were like, oh, you can't have a lolly in the show because that's very controversial here in the West. And Trigger said, no, we're gonna keep the lolly. Just very, very straight. They're like, no, lolly stays. And it's presented in the little clip where they talked about it as a very jovial thing, very kind of like, oh, hey, you can't do this. No, we want to do it. And I go, right.
They're spinning it that way.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much friction there was.
There is probably a lot more, because as far as we know, CD Projekt Red opened its borders to allowing a lot more people onto the development team, because they needed more people. But the issue is they brought in a lot of people from the West. This we know with a certainty, because a lot of the people that also left Studio Trigger have made videos and stuff, and they are all, well, not all, but there's a startling amount of the SJW archetypes and the openly SJW archetypes that work on CD Projekt Red's games now and that are part of their teams now. So the infestation has already begun. The ship has already hit the iceberg a while ago, actually, even before the public announcement of CD, I believe Cyberpunk?
See, that's another interesting question. Because if this was 4 or 5 years ago, I would absolutely agree with you. But we have been seeing a genuine turn back towards a bit of fucking quality. Finally, after a very goddamn long time. And we've been seeing a lot of these studios beginning to purge their more progressive elements to the point where I was looking through Netflix animated roster, like all of the shows they've worked on, sponsored, or been part of producing, and they've actually done a lot more hits than misses. They made Dorohedoro, which is that weird one with the lizard guy, which was surprisingly good and very creative in its own way. They did the Castlevania Netflix series, which that one had elements of woke, heavy elements, like a female character who's the only competent one, but it was still a good, solid action anime style thing. They recently did Bastard, which is, well, it is the most heavy metal 80s anime I have seen since the actual 80s. It is all tits and action and violence. Like, it's good fucking shit. And he was okayed by Netflix.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
I don't want to get too optimistic, but
not to crush your hopes already,
stuff.
But Japan has already begun including more pronoun stuff because the corporate world is slow, and they're already making moves, apparently, with those new Sony games. Now, this is Sony, of course, but Japan's already on the path of woke, and has been for some time. It's just they're much slower because they're much more conservative. I think the fallout still. I think we have a decade or so still.
But that's the thing too. Japan, for all of its coolness, is very much so a bit of a Western style oriented market, and is going to be more and more so as well. To the point where a lot of their stuff is now moving more and more towards the West, and what they see in the West was our wokeist idiocy. If that is on the decline, I am not convinced that the plague will ever fully, truly hit Japan. It is a question of velocity, really. Because if it falls out of common parlance, out of common popularity, then Japan won't bother. Because there's already a lot of resistance in the creative class in Japan against this, to the point that it got the Love Hina mangaka elected recently over basically straight up fears of wokeism coming into Japanese society.
Like Katakawa's gone woke, Sony's gone woke. There are more suggestions of other companies in Japan's going woke. Like Japan is finally, Japan has been woke for a very, 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 very long time in a lot of smaller ways, but it's finally reaching the surface level as those people ascend in the order of command and get in positions of power, which is not a good thing.
But I don't know if it'll go that far. Because, ironically, Netflix is actually the ones now pushing a lot of non-diversity into Japan. The Ultraman series that they did recently. Now, I don't know diddly dick about Ultraman, really. It's one of those very Japanese things. But everything I've heard about it is that it is actually just Ultraman. It has nothing else. It is just an Ultraman series. Which is, again, one of those interesting things. Like, Netflix has actually been rather neutral when it comes to anime entertainment.
Netflix sort of gives you a check, and they've never really gotten involved, to my knowledge.
No.
They actually are pretty hands-off as a company.
That's the thing. They have and they haven't been. Because you've also got examples of the opposite, like Masters of the Universe, the He-Man thing, right? That series has been judged south and down since episode 1. Nobody likes it, nobody cares about it. And after the first season, which people cared about a little bit because they were hoping for a return to form and because of that one brilliant trailer, nobody talks about it. It's got 3 bloody seasons. And the only reason it does is because Netflix wanted this to be a success. This was an opportunity to try and reinvigorate the Western kind of cartoon market. And the guy in charge, of course, was fairly famous, and he's got a lot of backing from Netflix. And it's flopping hard, and yet they are pushing it for multiple seasons because for them, it was, well, they had a connection to it. Like they had, and it was the same with like the Shira and Princes of Power shit too. Obviously woke stuff pushed for obviously woke reasons. But with Netflix failing, their stocks failing, their subscriber base failing, and with the money beginning to dry up, it is one of the companies right now that are suddenly going, hold on, we're not Amazon. We don't have infinite cash.
True, but I would definitely say that it's way too early to know for certain.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to wait and see with them, because as soon as they get their money back, normally what they always do is they just revert back.
Well, that's the thing. It depends on whether or not it's ideological or economical. And I think for a lot of these companies, it's first and foremost economical. And the ideology was simply what they saw and what they interpreted to be popular at the time. We'll have to wait and see. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic because I feel like the winds have been changing for some time now. And I'm hoping it'll be in a good direction. But enough about Cyberpunk 2077 and its hopeful embrasure of Japan. The worst part is I actually am genuinely kind of hoping for a Cyberpunk game, but with this kind of storytelling. Because again, like, I like the world of Cyberpunk. I would like to see more of it, but that is going to be like 5 years down the line. We also have, of course, another very surprising and very good news, which was Sins of a Solar Empires 2, which I had given up hope on for a very long time because the owners and like the producers,
Ironclad
they weren't
and
very...
Stardock.
Yeah, Ironclad and Stardock. They didn't seem like they saw eye to eye on the setting and the future and who owned what.
Yeah, it was definitely in dispute, but I think I know why it started to help get motivated, and that might be part of the downside, because I know a lot of people have already dismissed this game, which actually is tragic, and I can't even fault them for dismissing it, and that's due to the Epic exclusivity thing that's going on.
Yeah, so that's the other thing as well.
I know, right? It's like a kick in the nuts after, like, because you guys, you got to understand, like, for me and for Arch, like, this is one of my favorite games of all fucking time. This is the top, my most favorite space RTS. And it's an Epic exclusive. I find out they're making one, and I'm like, hell yeah. And then I find out it's an Epic exclusive deal, and it's like a kick in the balls after hell yeah. Like a very hard kick to the nuts. Like it was like, why?
It is Epic exclusive.
And I know a lot of people have already immediately tuned out because of it. And then followed by the early access announcement as well. I was like, oh yeah. See, look, you can see it happen instantly in the chat. Like, Chad, Empires. Yeah, I know the feeling. Like, I'm still willing to give them a chance, but like at the same time, the Epic exclusive deal is a black mark.
There are three hits against Sins of a Solar Empire right now that one after one kind of just gave me gut punches as I heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
One is early access, which I understand, but everything is an early access game right now. I am getting a bit fucking sick of it. So can we just have a video game, please? But no, I was like, again, and I get it. I understand. It makes sense for a game like this, particularly with balancing, and it's not that big of a franchise. You need a bit of a leg up, blah blah blah. But even so. Second stomach punch was the art style, which again I understand. Like, they want lots of units on screen, they want to have it run well, fantastic. But I look at this and I see Supreme Commander 2, and I remember how good that game looked up until launch, when it was suddenly revealed, oh hey, this has nothing to do with Supreme Commander.
Yep. One of the styles that enhance the image for chat. So this sort of blocky, chunky look, not a big fan. I actually think that the art direction here missed the mark entirely. They look more like little toys than they do spaceships, like they did in the original Sins.
Yeah. And the reason they do this is because this style is incredibly easy on the processor. Like, there's very few pixels in this, like, relatively speaking.
The model is relatively low poly, and the texture itself is. I'm 90% sure the divots on the metal and the riveting is all just a flat texture.
All textures, and all do like the, yeah.
And I can get that because the focus on sins is macro, not the individual spaceships, you know. But they've got what looks like articulating turrets. Like, that's a nicety. There is some things that are exciting here, though. Even despite all the fucking bullshit shenanigans. The ship battles being bigger, the ships having actual, like, hard points where the weapons are, and that mattering. The physical projectiles actually mattering themselves, because in the original Sins, the shooting wasn't real, if you didn't know. It was just like, they'd shoot lasers, but what was actually happening is the damage rolls were happening behind the closed doors. Now you'll be able to actually see the rounds hit, and they actually physically hit like Supreme Commander. The solar system itself is actually moving, like planets are actually, celestial bodies are actually moving. And there's a slew of other interesting things that are actually quite nice. And as far as the gameplay theory on the game design, it's actually on the right track, in my opinion. It's just the Epic exclusivity deal, followed by, you know, like, I'm not opposed to early access. I can see the merit in it. But at the same time, it's like one of those things where it's like, I could just kind of want the game, honestly. And I wouldn't mind waiting just to get the game polished. But it is one of those tempting models from a developer standpoint that I understand is very hard to resist.
Because there, of course, comes the third gut punch, which is the fact that it is a Epic game. And, oh, God, see, the issue is, like, Epic, as a game store, for what it's doing, I can respect some of it. I genuinely can. Like, they have put out some decent games. Many of some of them have been exclusives. Others have not been so decent. It's been a fair bit of a hit and miss. So the Epic Game Store exclusive thing is not a instant mark of death by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a straight up anti-consumer policy that brings us back 10 fucking years and brings us PC players back to the age of the console exclusive in a way, which is just annoying. It is a pointless step backward, and it doesn't benefit Epic in any way. It just creates more negative PR for them. Because again, there are very legitimate complaints with the Epic Game Store, in that now, even after all these years, it's still lacking basic fucking features like a goddamn shopping cart. It's just... Epic is rich as a hell, and they still haven't bothered finishing their bloody website.
Yep, the website's trash. And the problem is like, as a content creator, I'm gonna get it to cover it, but like, it's the thing that I'm gonna have to fucking bitch about and moan about for pretty much ever, because it is a black mark. You, by doing that as a developer, have basically thrown the other part of your audience under the wind. Like, you should be on as many platforms as you possibly can, for the sake of your consumer base, because your consumer base takes precedence. The fact that, well, corporate greed, because on paper as a developer in a business setting, it's like, okay, we do an Epic exclusivity run, you know, we do the early access period on Epic, so we get all the testing out of the way, and then we get a huge influx of money from Epic as well to help develop the cost of the game. And then we can release on Steam as a finished product, and then we'll get even more money. Like, that's a really good business deal. And on paper, it sounds actually pretty good. There's actually, like, it just sounds like a really good idea. But in actuality, it's probably a terrible idea, because all you're doing is just pissing off literally everyone, because your fans have been waiting for 15 fucking years for you to make a new game. And you do this to us for waiting, for literally twiddling our thumbs. Like, Citadel Empire is, oh my god, it is the game I've been waiting for a long time, and wishing would get a sequel for a long time. And by doing that, it's just like, wow, like, really, like, that just feels kind of like a, you know, a knife in the back after all those long years of supporting the game, all those long years of playing the game and promoting it, and be like, and Epic exclusivity, okay. Okay. But yes, it's been 15 years since the last Sins of Solar Empire game. 15 fucking years. We've been waiting.
Yep. It feels a bit disappointing. Actually, chat had a good question there as well. Same question as with Space Marine 2. Why now? That's actually a very interesting question. Why now? And I granted, for Sins of a Solar Empire, it's a little bit more explanatory because they have been in this massive argument between Ironclad and Stardox about who owns what and who gets what, presumably, etc., blah, blah, blah. But it's one of those things, like, half of me thinks that the only reason why we're getting a Space Marine 2 is because somebody saw the name and thought, oh, I'll have that. That'll boost sales of my game. And whether or not there will actually be any substance reminiscent of Space Marine, that's the question. It's kind of like Dawn of War 3, where they were just like, well, this is a name that sells, stamp.
Now, one thing I will say in their defense, actually, at least based on what they've said, bear that in mind, take it with a pinch of salt, is that they actually wanted to preserve the sandbox play that was Sins of Solar Empire. Because Sins of Solar Empire is a sandbox strategy game, unlike Stellaris. Stellaris is more of a scripted with triggers and all these event things, but Sins of Solar Empire is just straight up a sandbox. You spawn in as whatever faction in a solar system or a series of solar systems, and you do literally whatever the fuck you want. There's no more to it than that. So that, like, they're going down the right path there, but at the same time, like, the Sins of Solar Empire name is a name, even though it's only got, you know, one real game and then 3 expansions. Diplomacy, Entrenchment, and Rebellion. It's also one of those games that we haven't seen in a while. 15 years. Also, Ironclad Games been around still. They've been chilling. But I also want to point out that 15 years is a long time. A lot of people who were there when Sins of Solar Empire was made might not be there anymore. And some of the new people might not really have memories or really have, you know, been there for the creation of the first game. So that's always a concern with the disconnect, especially a long time gap between games. I mean, look at the Duke Nukem game as an example of that. Now, that was caught in development hell for the longest time because it was still spinning in the mud. But when it finally came and it finally was shoved out the doors, it was not what people were wanting the next Duke Nukem game to be.
I will also say that wait, as I spit out the hair in my mouth. Ironclad Games, they have been doing a few things here and there afterwards, but nothing particularly good, nothing particularly interesting. There was also, of course, Ashes of Singularity, that thing.
The biggest thing they did, which was sort of like a sort of macro-focused Supreme Commander game, which looked good on paper, but more felt like lane pushing the game.
There's Off-World Trading Company. That was another fairly big thing they did, which looks okay, but it looks also kind of like cartoony styling. And the Siege of Centauri, which is a tower defense game. An actual fucking tower defense game.
Not to dismiss tower defense games, because some of them have been fucking pretty awesome, but they haven't really made anything like a proper real-time strategy game outside of, well, the Ashes of Singularity game, and that was kind of hollow.
Yeah. Sins is the one thing they've made that was just like... That was like Sins, basically. So it is a very reasonable question to ask if the studio is up to repeating that achievement.
Yeah, that is a concern, because Sins of Solar Empire really took the market by storm. I remember seeing it in stores, and my dad and I picked up a copy, and we didn't really know what it was. It sort of just came out of the blue. And then it was like, wow, like a strategy game in which you have massive fleet battles. It's got a 4x RTS element, right? Because you have diplomacy. After all the expansions, of course, you've got, you know, research, technology, you've got the ability to conquer and stuff like that. And it's got a slew of options. It's more than just like a sort of command and conquer, sort of like blow up the enemy base style game. Because there's actually multiple approaches. You can, you know, use pirates and put bounties on people to create this massive bounties. And by throwing more money at the pirates, the more money the pirates make, the stronger the pirates get. There's all these subtle nuances. There's neutral factions and neutral worlds that you can sort of bring into the fold peacefully or conquer. There's also the modding scene, like Star Wars Interregnum, which is one of the best Star Wars mods on the market. There's the best mod on the market, Star Trek Armada 3, which is, its quality is just unmatched. Like, there are some really good mods, and there's a bunch of other ones too on ModDB that you can check out. Like, it's got a host of overhaul mods that are really awesome. So, like, the modding scene has kept this game alive, by the way. If you ever want to check out Sins of Solar Empire Rebellion, you can find it on Steam for pretty cheap, and the mods for it are pretty good, and still in development, and is still active to this day.
There will also be one key little litmus test for this game.
The modding.
Will there be modding tools?
Yep. Because this game should be moddable. Because, oh my god. Seriously, Star Trek Armada 3 is probably the best space RTS I've ever played. Because the mod takes the game and elevates it to the next level. So when ships explode, their hulks are actually like spinning slowly adrift in these massive wreck balls after these massive armada battles. So you've got like hundreds of wrecks just spinning around and floating around, and it looks incredible. Oh my god. You know, the modding scene for Sins of Solar Empire is what helped carry it. And it's also one of the reasons why I still play it to this day, actually. I still have it installed. 15 years, by the way. 15 years I've still been playing that game. Yeah, no, that's a testament to how good the game is. Or at least the Sins of Solar Empire Rebellion.
It will be interesting to see. I really do hope it's good, because the technology has finally caught up with the vision. And maybe we could even see an actual Supreme Commander sequel at some point. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah, Supreme Commander 3 is honestly, if I see Supreme Commander 3 announced, I'm immediately gonna frown, because I've just got flashbacks of 2 constantly, of how disappointing that was. 2 is like, to give you context for those who aren't familiar with the Subcom franchise, Dawn of War 3 was basically what Supreme Commander 2 was, or Command & Conquer Twilight number 4 was what Supreme Commander 2 was like. It was just a big wet fart. And it sucked. It was like, that's disgusting. I don't want to play this trash.
It was an honest-to-God, genuine insult to Supreme Commander.
Which is also one of the other RTSs I rate highly. Supreme Commander, Sins of Solar Empire are the best modern RTSs, and both of them are like 15 to almost 20 years old now, by the way. But they are the most modern and advanced RTSs to date. That's tragic.
Because that was the end of the era where people just weren't interested in making strategy games or attempting to push the envelope anymore, and that's why we haven't had a good strategy game of that scope and scale ever since. I mean, the closest we have is probably the Wargame series and Warno, at least when it comes to size of battlefields. And even that's incomparable. Like, the number of units is not even remotely close.
Supreme Commander, each player could have 1,000 units. That's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
And in Sins of Solar Empire, you can have quite the massive flotilla of ships. Not to mention followed up by a massive Titan.
My fucking god, Kyle. Could you imagine a Supreme Commander game with the Warno engine?
The ability to scroll in and see like high level detail like that. See, you know, Eugene, you little French fucks, why don't you get the Supreme Commander license and give us the Supreme Commander game? Because that's the thing. The Eugene systems, what a silly name, you can scroll in and out of the map, and the maps are huge, just like in Supreme Commander. You know, if somebody could make a Subcom game, it'd be those little French boys. Maybe they should do it.
You know, the engine that Eugene has created for that is incredibly impressive, and it allows for a very large scale and with very high detailed units. I mean, you can still scroll into the fucking infantry, and they're going to have little glasses on and shit. Like, that is a ridiculous detail level for a game of that scope and scale.
Mm-hmm. Also, because I'm sure it'll interest chat, because I see a lot of people being like, what about Total Annihilation 2? That'd be great too, but I doubt it'll get a sequel.
Yeah, no.
There is one thing that I can give you that might make you happy, though. Chat, go to Google and go to the Google search bar and type in Beyond All Reason. It's a spiritual successor, and I've played it myself. I've spoken to the developers. It is basically, it's Total Annihilation. You can play right now. It's free. Honestly, it runs at the TA Spring engine, and it's got quite a nice polish to it. Give it a shot. You might like it. Completely free.
Just no matter what you do, avoid planetary annihilation. Like the plague.
Planetary Annihilation, the big disappointment. I remember when they had the audacity to announce human resources when they hadn't finished Planetary Annihilation. And I'm like, what is this? What the fuck is it, Jake? Well, human resources, the resources are the human. Shut the fuck up. Where's the fucking other things in the game you promised?
I quite liked that idea.
I like the idea,
because
but the assholes didn't finish their other game.
I think it would have been actually a pretty fucking cool concept where you're warring alien species and you have to fight over the humans and you gotta kind of harvest them or save them. That's a cool fucking idea. It's just, they hadn't even finished their first fucking game and now they're asking for money for the second one.
You know what? Another game had that idea. It was called Universe at War. But it was made by Petroglyph, so it was kind of very meh.
Universe at War was the first game that Total Butt Cancer reviewed, and God, he was so disappointed.
The humans weren't even playable. Like, they had a full army roster in the game, and like I was like, the first missions of Universe at War where you're playing as the humans, I'm like, this is cool, and then you have to play as the blue alien dudes. Okay, but like the whole time I'm like, I kind of wish we could play the humans more and like fight a war of like attrition against the aliens. Like, that would have been cool. What are you doing, Petroglyph? Petroglyph's like, so we made a game where you get to play as the Atlanteans. I'm like, what now? The Atlanteans? Fucking, why can't we play as
This
the
was
humans?
also the point at which people like Kyle learned a harsh lesson that they would learn many times in the future.
Petroglyph.
Petroglyph. Yes.
See, as a little kid, okay, to contextualize it, when I was like fucking 8 or 9 or whatever, Star Wars Empire at War came out. And for me, I remember reading I have the PC Gamer magazine in a tote somewhere. And I was like, oh my God, Star Wars RTS. And I remember playing it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I played Forces of Corruption. Wow, this is amazing. And I was a little kid, Arch. I didn't know any better. So I was like, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. I go, pew, pew, Star Wars. And music, wow. And then as I grew up, I'm like, wait, there's like no mechanics to this game. The subtle realization that as a child I was bamboozled. Like, I still enjoy the game, but like it lacks any real depth, you know? And that's Petroglyph's hallmark, lack of depth. Sad.
Yeah. Petroglyph it's just like a sad little shadow thing of what it once was. Desperately trying to hide in the shadow so it is no longer bullied.
Yep, because they're the remnants of Victory Games, the guys that made Generals and Battle for Middle-earth games and the other modern CNCs, and Westwood, the old dog on the corner that's now dead and its corpse has been desecrated. But details.
Yep. Meanwhile, now they made Grey Goo, which was shit.
Oh, see, that's the first time I heard about. That's the first time I heard about Total Biscuit, because my friends were like, oh, Kip, watch this guy. He reviews RTS games. I'm like, yeah, but he's British, though. An ironic response.
So are you, Kyle.
No, I'm not. How would I be British? My teeth aren't crooked. I have dental care.
I have no evidence of that.
Now the British people in chat are mad. Like, we are not that crooked. Earth 250, that's another good series. That's actually Eastern European. I didn't know that until I was hanging out with one of our Polish friends, and he was like, yeah, it's Eastern devs. I'm like, what? I don't like this game anymore. Just kidding.
Poor little Petroglyph. They've had so many grand ideas, and they have not achieved one of them.
Yeah, they half-ass it. What was that one other one? Battalion something, where you could build like custom vehicles and stuff and build a custom army. Like, they half-assed that, too. Like, oh my God. It's back to Petroglyph real quick. Petroglyph, you little fucking muppets. if you just develop one game and stick to that one game, because Petroglyph is working on a new RTS right now. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to probably buy it because it looks interesting, but they better not half-ass it, which they will. And I'll be mad and I'll complain about it later. But they're working on, what was it called? Some World War I RTS. And it's like you can control units and there's like these big hordes of infantry that get out of trenches. And it's going to be based in World War I. And it looks pretty cool. You got some tanks and like proto-tanks and stuff like that. And like, you know, that could be interesting. It's like, you know, Total War, but World War I is what it looked like.
And like the abused spouse you are, after being slapped down yet again, you will still come crawling back for more.
I just want a game.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'll put up for cheat. Look, this is the game. Western Front, the Great War. It's a name. It doesn't look half bad. But looks can be deceiving.
Listen to his fucking optimism, Judd.
You know, the more I look at it, immediately this first thought that just came to my mind now is like, what? This kind of looks like an Empire at War mod a little bit. Like the units move in like little blocks. So, you guys just used your Empire War engine, didn't you? Like, yeah.
When you look a little bit closer, you realize that, you know, graphic isn't that impressive. Those textures are awfully flat.
Yeah, you kind of wish the camera would be
squads
locked
look a
higher.
little bit weird.
Also, when they're in the trenches, it looks great because they all look like they're just identical in the same pose. No, Chet, no.
Oh, Jesus, those were people.
Yeah, no, those are people in those trenches.
Oh, holy shit, that looks terrible.
Hold on,
I didn't even know.
All right. Yeah, those are
Well,
people. Yeah, a little bit of...
Okay.
Like, that's...
All right.
That looks like... Okay, so the army of identical battle droids. They are... Chad, help! I'm Sid. I wish I didn't notice that. Let's go back.
No, that's tragic. That is actually quite tragic.
That looks kind of ridiculous, chat. Chat, fix it now. Make it have different animations. Yeah, look at that. That's I've never quite seen that before, to be honest with you. Like, that's unique, right? I've never seen them so perfectly.
The more and more I look at it, it kind of looks like just several enormous centipede monsters or something.
Like, oh yeah, I can kind of see it. Human centipede, says chat. Yeah, centipede trenches.
Yep.
They might... Roger. Good soldiers follow orders. They need to fix that.
All right. Now that we have disabused Kyle of his pointless optimism, let's see what the super chats are saying today then. Tierwox11 says, Arch, hva du gjør opp så sent om kvelden? Bruker du sørge for å få deg skjønnhetssøvn din? Du må gå foran med et godt eksempel for Kibbs. Oh, I am a good example for Kibbs. Without me, I mean, he would probably still have like 500 subscribers. I am a good example.
Props for props is due. Barch has helped boost the Kibbs out of the desolate wasteland that is beginning YouTube. Oh, the poor bastards that start at the bottom. Be strong. Be strong.
Gaston Higashi says, Cyberpunk 2077 is the best Deus Ex RPG shooter. Try the Pan Am ending if you want V to live. Well, even then, he doesn't really live. It's just that he'll die in the future instead of right now. I have heard that the Pan Am ending is the better one. I didn't really like Pan Am. Like, she has this weird look to her. Like they were thinking, like, okay, this is an attractive woman, and I see what they're trying to tell me, but at the same time, like, you look a little bit too robot-y.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Pan Am ending, because I did look them up, because I just uninstalled the game after playing it for like a couple hours, because I was like, this is not very fun. I remember being like very disappointed, because all the endings are kind of just shit, and it's more or less, it doesn't even matter really the ending too much, because the journey is you're just a side character in your own story. And that is just such a dumb thing. Like, okay, you want us to play a named character and don't have character customization? There are benefits to this, and when it comes to the writing quality can improve, and the choices might actually matter. Because the problem with these open sandbox games is they give you a lot of choices that mean fucking nothing. Like, all they do is change a line of dialogue. Does it really change the gameplay? No. Does it really do anything else? Not really. Outside of like 4 more options. Sometimes linear can be better because you'll actually get more choices in a with a single character rather than them having to write for like 3 or 4 different potential characters that you're supposed to be, playing. So if we played it as Johnny Silverhand, the writing probably would have improved, by and large. But the problem is, no, we play as V, some worthless loser who doesn't matter in his own story.
I doubt I don't know if the path would be worth it either, because I remember the Judy romance was actually pretty solid. I was actually beginning to give a shit for this character, and then it's done. It's over. Okay, well, I guess I'll go on to RPGing somewhere else then.
It's like, all right, you want to like explore the world and do more stuff? You're like, yeah, and like kill yourself. So
again, like companion characters. I need to do a video on that, like explaining why companion characters are the future, because
I know
they are.
Yes, so you bring that up, and one other bitching point of Cyberpunk. Remember the beginning of the game? There's this really cool dude, and he's got like your best friend character, and it's like, oh, my best friend character, we're gonna have a cool adventure together. Then they give you a montage, and then he dies, and it's like, yeah, can we play the montage as the game instead of the game? Like, wouldn't that have been cool, having an adventure where this guy shows you around, the city, and you would have built up that thing? Like, what a fucking waste of a character. He should have been our best friend. He should have been what Johnny Silver was as the character. He was the character. He was our companion character. He's our best friend character. Jackie, thank you, chat. I forgot his name because he died so quickly. It wasn't even funny.
Yep. And that flashback, it achieved the exact opposite of its intent. Because the point was to be like, hey, look at all of the cool memories you have with this character. Only thing I could think is, well, I wish I could have had those. And they immediately pulled me out of the story. And I was just like, okay, well, now I don't fucking care.
Yep.
You're just some rando the game is telling me that I give a shit about.
I wanted to have an adventure with Jackie. Unironically. I want a game where we have an adventure with Jackie. And I want them to remake Cyberpunk 2077, throw this away as some like in-game universe thing, like, oh, it's actually a video game in-game. Okay, fair enough, whatever. But like, give us a game where you play as V and Jackie, and they have a cool bromance adventure, or if you're a girl, the cool girl bromance thing. I don't even care. Just give me a game with Jackie in it, because Jackie was kind of somewhat like, oh, cool, we got this cool friend. Like, I just want a character that I can have as a companion that isn't just annoying like fucking Johnny Silverhand was. Because he was just annoying. Yeah. Oh, God, I hate him.
This is why Lucy was such a superior character to Johnny Silverhand. Because Lucy in Edgerunner exists to drag the character into the world, to invest the main character into the world. Lucy is the reason why the guy becomes Cyberpunk, becomes one of the group. It's also the reason why he ends up as he does. She is the reason for his entire journey. And at the same time, it is a good reason. It is a reason that he himself would choose, even knowing the ending. Whereas Johnny Silverhand is just a thing that happens to you. It is a negative consequence that is done to you. And at no point during the story am I thinking, oh God, I'm glad Johnny's here.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I think, I unironically think by using the actor's face, Keanu Reeves, they ruined the game. Because they focus too much on it.
That fucks it up too. Because it immediately pulls me out of my experience. Like, immersion is a dirty word in many ways, but it's also a real, genuine feeling. And whenever I see Keanu Reeves, all I can think is, oh, Keanu Reeves is there again. He's talking to me.
Like, Keanu Reeves as an actor, he sounds like a pretty chill dude, and nothing against the guy, actually. I think he's pretty cool. I like his movies, actually. But the problem is when we're playing a video game, I don't want to actually see real-life actors. This is something that I genuinely hate about modern AAA games. No more real-life actors. We're playing a video game, it's about escapism. Give me characters that might be inspired by, but don't look anything like these people. Like, don't give me fucking, like, Hugo Weaving. Give me some character that's similar to him, but he's unique and can stand on his own 2 feet.
Yes, because I know he's a dude now, and that again takes me out of the escapism. Now, Miranda Lawson was borderline in this regard. She squeaked by for me because her main character, like the cheerleader from that stupid ass show, wasn't famous enough for me to, just see her as that. And they changed her hair color enough, they changed her appearance enough to make it passable. But even then, like that was just at the borderline. And if you're all ready to. The way they made her in-game, like you could tell that they were trying to recreate the actual person, and it actually made her look weird as a 3D model, because 3D models are not people, which is difficult to explain, apparently.
Yep, because it enters that beautiful realm of the uncanny, because we're trying to imitate life too much. Honestly, I don't mind games that focus on realism if it's like a milsim or something like that, but generally I don't mind stylism. It helps the game age with grace, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Warcraft 3. Yeah, it's starting to look a little dated, by a little bit, of course, with those textures. Wink, wink. But if you play the game, and you play the game the way it is, because of its stylism, it doesn't really bother me. It's like, oh, well, it's part of the art style. It's supposed to be chunky and low poly.
God damn it, Kyle. You're going to keep having that picture up on screen, aren't you?
You want me to remove it? I'm not even looking at that picture. I'm sort of like leaning back in my chair.
Centipede.
Like,
right, okay, here. I'll give you a picture of a frowning Viola Davis in the upcoming The Woman King movie, which I am looking fucking forward to. I cannot wait. That
Dahumi.
This movie is going to be great. It really is. I am going to enjoy this one.
Dahumi, like Dobie. That hurts me, unironically. Oh my god! Look at how that the face. She's very sad. Okay, very constipated. She's been trying to shit for fucking 3 weeks straight, and she knows the pressure is so bad back there now that when it finally does happen, her orchids are going with it. She's dead.
Listen, she's a strong and empowered female warrior, okay, who's shaved only the sides of her hair, because that was a common thing in Africa back then.
I hate that hairstyle, by the way. The half-shaved modern thing is like the mullet. That was actually something I hated about the Cyberpunk cover. Like, yeah, I get it's like punky, but when they shave half their head, it's like, did you just fall on the shaver? Whoa, and oh, there goes the side of my head's hair. Oh well.
She's got nice little seashells on her clothes, and she picked from the beach,
Oh my god, she looks so dumb. She looks stupid. Oh my god.
Must be so cool to Viola Davis.
Quiet. Now we need to focus on. I really like that historical edit on Twitter that was trending, where somebody was this tweet was trending about this movie on Twitter, and it was an edit where it's like, we are Dahomey, and then there's some dude reading a Wikipedia article and it was edited in there, and then it's like they lost the battle and it's like colossal defeat, and it's like, they lost everything in this, and the dude's just laughing in the background. It was a pretty good edit. I don't know where it is. Hold on, maybe I can find it real quick.
The Amazons deserved what happened to them. Oversaturated Market says, still play Subcom with my friends, or 7 to FAF team. Good. Still a good game. Although they won't be your friends for long. Not even my experiences or anything to go by. Whiteater666 says, still play Earth 2150 series. Had a lot of unique features on that RTS you never see in any other game. Probably for a good reason. Yes, I vaguely remember those games too, and I'm not sad they didn't propagate, honestly.
The Earth 2150 was kind of cool because you were in a race against time to escape Earth as you gathered resources, because Earth was going to explode as it got close to the sun.
Thank you. I was very worried you might say it was very cool because we were in a race war there, and I was like, Kyle,
And so, like, listen, the other races had to be dealt with. You're like, no. Permanently.
Mark Shame says, at least Petroglyph still patched Empire at War all these years after.
That's true, to their credit. I mean, to be fair, that's also probably the thing that makes them the most money still. That's a bad thing I have to. The modding scene for, okay, to Empire at War's credit, I rag on it a lot, but it's actually got some pretty cool mods for Thrawn's Revenge and like Fall of the Republic, where there's these massive like overhaul mods that basically turn the game into different eras and actually add a lot to the game. The modding scene for Empire at War is hilarious in the sense of how crazy the modding scene is for that game. Like, if you had told me that the game would have gotten a modding scene like that based on its gameplay, I would have laughed at you. Like, what, why? Why would you mod that game? Like, Sins of Southern Empire should have a bigger modding scene. No, Star Wars Empire at War has a colossal modding scene. It's basically on the scale of Medieval 2's modding scene. It's ridiculous how big it is. But it's also easy to mod. And that's the thing. Making your games easier to mod will make modding easier, and it will help propagate a healthy modding community. Developers.
Yeah, but that's money out of their pocketbooks.
No, it's money. It's investment long term because the game will still get sales for decades and decades to come. Apparently, and it's still working.
Now I too have grown sick of looking at Viola Davis. Here, put up some Lucy in the background instead. That's much better.
Why is she wearing clothing? That's very racist. You're like, what?
Because it's YouTube. She doesn't wear a lot of clothing in the actual show. Don't worry.
Oh, good. Well, at least she understands what a woman should wear. Just like, oh, cancelled.
Glow in the Dark says, Gibbs isn't British. You can tell because he has access to butter knives without a license. Also, he microwaves his tea, which is an insult in the UK.
Disgusting.
That could start fights, if not a riot.
No. I do something that annoys British more. I buy it in a jug, and then I refrigerate it, and then drink it occasionally. There's a jug of tea in my refrigerator, and I drink it cold.
I mean, anyone who drinks tea is a faggot in my book, so...
Wow, arch racist much?
Speciest, more like.
Damn.
Drag B says, due to the supply and logistical losses due to the HIMARS and losses / capture due to counterattack, so you think Russia has the logistical strength to actually win their buy ammo from North Korea? Oh, God. Ukraine. Kyle, what do you think? Kyle, do you know? Kyle?
I think the Russians will surrender to Kibbs and nominate me new Tsar of Russia. Just, wow.
There you go.
East. I've always wanted my own land mass that was very large.
See, I'm currently at the point now where I'm considering making a Will Russia Turn into the Balkans 2.0 video, so I'm not overly optimistic about Russia's chances for a victory. Now, a forced stalemate in the peace, probably, but we'll see. There's also been China's wavering support as well, a little bit back and forth, like, we'll help, but not that much.
Not enough to bind us to you when you sink. Pats on the back. But by the way,
John,
though... go ahead. I was going to say, China is going to be the first to throw them under the bus because they're still pissed at Russia for taking that... for what's that region that Vladivostok is in? That's Chinese, according to China, and also Mongolia. Russia's been holding on to that bargaining chip for a long time. It's time.
Mongolia might be China yet again.
China wants all that land back, but will the Pentagon allow that? Big thinkies. Give a stand forever.
China,
yes,
is gay.
That's true. Very, actually.
John Makilla says, I have nothing interesting to say. I'm just supporting the content. Well, that's interesting enough for me. Genesis, there is an ending where you keep your body but will die anyway in weeks, months, making the whole thing feel so pointless. Yes, that's the quote-unquote good ending, where it's like, oh, you don't die immediately. Like, oh, fantastic. I get to die later.
It's like, I'm going to take over your body and control it, and I'm going to, and, you know, whatever, be a parasite. Like, the problem is that Johnny Silverhand is literally a parasite now.
That is.
Nice.
Gaston Higashi says Cyberpunk 2077 is the best RPG shooter. Primarily, I've heard that. Kyle, why did it pop up twice? Kyle, help.
Well, I
Kyle
think
messed it up.
that Barch is old, and, you know, it's time to take him out back. He's like, yeah.
Kyle
Put
has
me
failed
down.
for the 17th time.
I can't see your back end, and secondly, don't take that out of context, Twitter. I mean, chat, whatever. You're basically Twitter. Cesspit. Ooh, they're gonna get mad.
Grizzly says Cyberpunk will always be a disappointment. It wasn't a translation of the RPG like they advertised. They left out all the cool supernatural elements, like the fact the game takes place in the Vampires Masquerade universe. That'd be funny. I'd like that. Oh, there you go. I tried to find the thing, and I eventually found the thing. Rangi, I'm in episode 5 and feel that Edgerunner is decent. It very much feels like they respected the universe and trigger art style def works with Cyberpunk. Yeah, I would agree. It is, it's a damn good series overall. Valkyria Winter, Edgerunner was okay. David, I hated, was very annoying, and it was really the same as V, both going to die in the end. Well, one ending in the game, you can live. See, David was their attempt to kinda recreate a V experience-esque, where David just kind of, he's one of those characters who's on the track, and you can see the track, and he can see the track, but he refuses to do anything about the fucking track. It is an annoying plot point, but it also makes for relatively solid storytelling because, you know, it's the story, and the story goes on regardless of the characters in it. Like, I get it, even as at the same point it's stupid. You know, he knows he's killing himself and he still does it, and he's just like, well, you know, kind of had to. Convincing reality. Watched Edgerunner today after your video recommendation. Was definitely an engaging story with excellent characters. Agree that I wish there were more episodes, but a solid 10 out of 10 in my book. Yeah, two more episodes. 2 more episodes to really like cement things would have helped even more. Also, the music. Okay, the music is fine, but it's also very modern day Western style music. Arcane kind of had the same problem, but could get away with it because it was more of a cool show, kind of like, you know, crazy shit for crazy shit's sake. Like, I'm not a fan. Like, it's the same like I don't like real actors. I don't like real music in my entertainment. Whereas, like, this is a band singing. It's like,
See, if the song
luckily, I
is
don't
like
care about
custom
music.
made for the universe itself, okay, whatever. Then it can fit inside the universe. But the fact is, it's like playing Cyberpunk 2077 and having the little radio thing, and all the music is just regular ass modern shit. It's like, this is dumb. None of this is actually Cyberpunk. Like, they got some synth stuff in there, but all of it was kind of made before the game, and only a handful of stuff was actually made for the game itself. Bit of a shame, really.
Tragic. Glow in the Dark says mean things about Kibbs. Why are you mean to Kibbs? He says, sorry, Kibbs, but Arch did a better job at YouTube channel and revived yours. Don't hate him for his success. One day, kiddo, you'll make it, and maybe your game too. Like, yes.
Obvious
actually,
bait.
No, I did right. No. I did revive channel. It was probably dead for.
Glow in the Dark is
Was
low
it?
effort
Was it that?
simp trash. I'll keep taking his simp bucks while he continues to thinks he's, you know, top of the world. Glow in the Dark is pretty chat, actually. It's like, sure, buddy. Back in the bucket.
Glow in the Dark also says, the last otaku versus woke consumers anime when? Well, the last otaku will be Dev. And, you know, Dev's gonna have to roll himself into a cake and eat himself at some point.
That's mean.
No.
Dev's a good guy. Dev should be... See, Dev,
Is he?
we've invited Dev many times to hang out with us. You know,
And he is never accepted.
on the Bickering Bunch, I make the room accessible so that Blondie can come in whenever. And sometimes Blondie comes in, you know, not every day, but quite often, actually. Comes over to visit and he's like, my name's Arch, and I'm here to make fun of you. And it's like, okay, fair enough. But I gave Dev the same access. I'm like, Dev, you can come in whenever you want. If you just want to stop by and say hello, just feel free. Just for a couple minutes, say, hey, how are you guys doing? You're welcome to come on the channel. And then Dev's like, oh, okay. And then never. He did it once. That was for the Last of Us 2 stream. And that was the only time.
Meanwhile, in the middle of the night, at like 6 in the morning, when we're watching Rings of Power, he can't shut up and let us get on with the show. Dev.
Barch still salty. Barch is like, Barch is tired. Barch want to go to bed. So hang in there, little blondie.
Dev wishes to speak about his feelings. Dev
Dev
likes dick girls. Dev
needs to decompress. You gotta decompress. Just like Barch when he Barch compresses. Ooh. Actually, Barch gets compressed. Oh, you want to see him get compressed? The Warno streams. Now that's where Barch gets grumpy.
Speaking of, more Warno.
Like he starts off happy in the stream, like, hey, Arch can't wait to have fun in this game. And then like 30 minutes later, and I'm like it too. But he's also just like, Arch wants to kill himself.
Right. It's fine. Okay, next patch there'll be FOBs. It'll be great. And we still need to play more of this patch though.
Oh god, that's red for though for when we play it next, because it needs to be the broken deck.
What do you mean next? It's literally today, Carl. What's wrong with you?
Look at Barch. He's all.
Pedro Desa says Epic exclusive. Sorry, I heard torrent exclusive. Yes, that is an alternative way of reading Epic exclusive.
Listen, I can't help you if you need to check your Glass subscription, nor is it my job to tell you what you can and can't do.
Kyle, after having stopped being a piracy agent, has become remarkably flexible when this is concerned.
Listen, they should have, it's like I always said, like I should still have a job, but it's they don't want me, whatever, not a big deal. It's just not my problem if your stuff gets stolen anymore. I like to consider myself a venture capitalist, chat. That's how I view this.
Marcus James says, Barch and Kibbs, what is the best mod for Sins of a Solar Empire? The hentai one.
Barch hasn't modded it, and I've tried convincing him, but he's a stubborn mule. He's old. He's got the boomer man problem. It's like, I don't like change. It's like, God damn it, Blondie. The best mod, in my opinion, is the Star Trek Armada 3, followed by Star Wars Interregnum. I think those are the best balanced ones. The other ones have problems. The Halo one's cool, but the balance for Halo, it's bad. Cool models,
Star Trek,
though.
very homosexual.
Barch will open up to my way of thinking, whether he likes it or not. I'm more autistic than you, Arch.
Very
I will wear you down.
Homosexual.
You will become me in the end.
Mark Ashamed also says, call me cynical, but with Halo Infinite, it is proof that games made over a decade ago are far better than games made today. Well, some cases, yes. Pedro the Tsar, but there is a Subcom 3. It's called Sanctuary. Kyle, help.
That one, I've heard some mixed things about, but I don't want to really... That's a can of worms I don't want to open. I would advise skepticism, caution, and everything else looking at that, though. And that has to do with some of the developers I've spoke with. Just, be thinking about things as you look at it.
Well, there you go. Kyle has openly declared that the developers of Sanctuary are curs and charlatans.
No, I've heard conflicting things from conflicting people about conflicting stuff that I don't want to talk about.
Some of them might be into bestiality, I'm just saying.
It's just one of those things, I'm a little skeptical. And it's a healthy dose of skepticism. Follow it with interest, but follow it with an open eye. I'll say that much. What?
Shunkatsu says, now that Kibbs is officially a furry, how much for a furry pony jar, Kib?
A furry pony jar, Kib. How much money can I get from this? That's the real question. But damn.
I don't know. How many furries do you have in a jar normally?
Well, the thing is, I know from various artists that Arch commissions. Because Arch has commissioned... Arch is the only one that I know in my friend group that's commissioned furry stuff. Okay, this has happened. There's proof
Furry
now.
stuff.
It's over, Arch. We know. A certain animal with a certain letter N. It's not technically
It's not furry,
that's
Kyle.
furry. That's covered in fur.
It's not
Marsh.
furry, Kyle. No.
Look at you trying to play semantics with me now. It's not Barch. Barch is our little burry.
Now that one is funny though, and it will be used next April. This is a while away. It's a long-term fucking joke, okay?
Oh God.
Probably won't even remember by then.
With that boomer memory, it's entirely possible.
Mark James says Nebula's Fleet Command is announcing a new faction. We do need to try that game again and try to actually learn how it works at some point. Silly little game. Oversaturated Market says still play Sub Commander with friends. Kyle, why are these things are let? Kyle, YouTube is doing stupid things. Kyle, help.
What are you doing?
It's like mixed up on things. Mark James says before Halo, so many companies were trying to make the next Brood Wars. Yes.
Starcraft.
But then
Brood
again,
War, yep.
Brood Wars was made of broods.
Brood Wars was actually, I like the campaign for it. It was very dark. And it was sort of just like the good guys getting fucked and the bad guys also getting fucked in very bad ways. Pretty dark storytelling.
Sexism. Shitlord says Chad Adam Smasher based waifu slayer stack bodies abandon humanity become a Borg. Millions must die. Yes, Adam Smasher did actually have a role to play in the anime instead of the game, where he showed up like once and was like Mrr. And that was it.
Adam Smasher? Oh, that guy.
Sweet cameo, but oh well.
Gotta have our cameos of big popular characters. Buy the toys. But there aren't any toys as far as I know.
If there's toys of Cyberpunk, I expect them to be made by, well, fairly dirty companies.
Disgusting.
Then again, a Lucy Lovedoll? I'd consider it.
Damn.
Adam Smasher Lovedoll.
Oh, you want to get smashed? I'm gonna smash.
It's like one of those old toys. You press its belly and it goes like smash.
Oh my God. Dude, okay, so you fucking reminded me of something horrifying. So a while ago I was cleaning out the basement, went to help my pops with that, right? And the fucking old Woody toy, you know, the fucking like Toy Story Woody, like as we're moving stuff and I hear there's a snake in my boot and I'm like, what the fuck? After all these years you still work? What the fuck? Surprised the battery didn't explode or anything. That's quite funny. That's also kind of scary. Those things can be quite frightening in the dark, by the way.
Adam Smasher Lovedoll. Gunfolk61 says Arch Kibbs is furry, French Canadian, not British. Well, there you go. French Canadian.
False on all accounts. Not French, not Canadian, and definitely not a fur fag.
Siri Sextol. See, I don't know if I like Siri. I'm not convinced.
Who's
I'm not
Siri?
convinced. See, even Carlos knows who Siri is.
Is that like the Apple thing?
Yes, it's an Apple Kyle.
Got him. It's like, eh.
Marked ashamed. Companion character games for those losers who don't even have online friends. Well, kinda. Yeah, in a way. Like, the entire point of a good companion character is to give you the illusion that you are playing the game with someone else. In the most basic bitch sort of way, of course. You know, it is going to be an NPC at the end of the day, but it's the same way, right? People always say, "Oh, game is good with friends." Well, apply that same logic to a companion character, and you can make a mediocre game good simply by having good in-game interactions.
Mm-hmm. Plus, a companion character and companion characters, in my view, they are a way to introduce you to the world, the setting, and they give you a reason to care. Because sure, there's a lot about the mythos of a culture and some fictitious world, and it's, religion, it's food, it's customs. But at the end of the day, that's all just like little check boxes, which are nice little touches. Like, oh, cool, like they eat lots of soup-based food, or they have these certain rituals they do. Okay, now what? And having a companion character that actually came up in that culture and can tell you their perspective of it, and if they're for it or against it, or if they're, what their vices and virtues are, and you can see them actually practice it themselves in practice, it gives it a lot more depth. Because characters really bring out a world and can actually bring you to connect with that world because, well, we're humans and we're social creatures. You're going to want to interact. And NPCs like that are for interacting with.
It's one of the best and easiest ways to give you lore information about a universe without having to tell it to you. Like, you could read a book in world, or you could read little lore blurbs on loading screens and stuff, but you're being just told. It isn't something that happens in the world. It's not something organic. It is a thing that is pushed upon you. Meanwhile, if you're walking around a Draugr tomb in Skyrim, for example, and your companion just goes like, ugh, Norse undead, real creepy. Okay, you've already gotten 3 pieces of information there. These are undead, they're specifically Norse undead, and they're viewed as disturbing by the locals. Like, it's such a tiny little thing, but now you know that these aren't just undead. In fact, they're culturally specific undead. So maybe there's something more to them. Maybe the character could then go on to explain why the Draugrs exist. If there's a special weapon that's useful against them, like mentioning, like, oh yeah, silver works against this, and blah, blah, blah. Or, in legend, silver weapons work.
Yep, it becomes
and
more than
all
just
this
a
can
zombie.
be told. Yes, exactly. Like, it is an easy way to add value to the world, and it's also an easy way for the character to add value to themselves, because you're like, oh, thank you. Or simply just going like, oh, hey, there's a trap over there. Like, yeah, there is.
Yep.
Make it like, give it a little bit of a glow.
That was something that was always nice about the Mass Effect series, where you brought 2 of your companions with you, and they would comment on things differently in different environments. Some of them would be like, oh, I was here, and I was like, I don't like this place. And it tells you a little about that character, that they have a history with this place. And then later in dialogue, they start to seep that into conversations occasionally. And I wish they did more with it, but that'd be nice. Like, pushing that envelope, focusing on the characters is, in my opinion, philosophy-wise, is the next step in RPGs. It's gameplay is equally important, by the way. You need a good combat system, you need a good quest tracker, and the missions should be fun and the writing should be good. But I think that the focus should actually be on the companion characters, including the other NPCs that may not even be companions. Like, just a merchant, perhaps. You can talk about the merchant, he can tell you a little bit about the cuisine. Little tiny things like that add so much depth to what would otherwise be a shallow pond.
Mm-hmm. And it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of voice acting potentially and a lot of writing, but it will at the end of the day provide a bigger, better, and deeper world. Angron the Red Angel says, worked for friend's business in Japan. Got stuck there through most of the virus, so I had a lot of time to meet and get to know people. Woke is there, but it is hated and mocked as something very non-Japanese. Xenophobia wins. I mean, I hope so. See, the Japanese are unironically a very racist people, which I kind of respect. It's like, yes, no, we're good. Other foreigner people bad. It's like, I mean, considering where the opposite idea took us, that might not be such a bad idea. Mark James says, Ace Combat Top Gun with Tom Cruise on PlayStation 5. Oh. But do you want to play Top Gun with Tom Cruise on PlayStation 5? That movie was actually pretty good. I didn't mind it. It was stupid, but it kind of needed to be stupid. Like, it was that kind of movie. It was okay to be stupid because of it.
That's fine. Like, there are different movies with different levels of engagement, right? Like, action movies. Like, you don't watch 300 for its compelling, historical accuracy. So I hope not.
Mm-hmm.
It's got this crazy, like, action scenes and whatnot, and the action sequences are the highlight, and generally everything else just is sort of like side window dressing. It's not meant for much more. It's based on a comic, and it's about, that. But as long as The way I like to think of it, as long as the piece of media understands what it is and doesn't pretend it's anything greater than that, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. It's just when they get pretentious about it.
Yep. Mike James says, mods and live services cannot coexist. That is also true. John Diabol, I'm curious to know if Arch actually finished Cyberpunk or not. Silverhand actually gets a good arc and really kind of redeems himself later on. I got to the point where you basically got told that you're gonna die, and then I just couldn't be asked anymore. And the thing is, like, I was warming to Johnny, at least in parts, but like the introduction was just too negative for me to ever like him. And again, if you're going to be a character who's going to sacrifice the player character, you need to start off on a good footing right away, because this is a character that you need to be willing to sacrifice yourself for. Making him into an annoying shit for half of the game is not going to work. Shunkatsu says, I blame Kibbs for making me create a Twitter account. You should.
Listen, there's stupid stuff to be found on Twitter. Like, you can find artists, you can find all sorts of things. You can even find communities that I found, like the Caleb and the Loping Peep. And they are special in their own fucking right and very autistic. But there's a lot to be learned. And a lot you wish you had not learned. But it can be funny and entertaining. As long as you use that piece of media for what it's, you know, what you find it for. You have to filter it, though. Switching, you know, the fucking news stuff, so it only tells me things in Japanese, so I have no idea what the hell anything's saying. You know, only following people who shitpost or draw art. That's how I found some of my artists, actually. Twitter's a tool to be used. Don't let it use you.
Davos Aurelian says, I have maintained playing Sins games for years and have always wanted to see a solid Battlefleet Gothic mod. And but yet crossovers for this and say Star Wars or any other game like Endless Space. Well, don't worry, modding is dead. It'll never be allowed to exist again. It's true. You know it's true. And it's a tragedy.
Syndicate of Solar Empire is still a good game to this day. Syndicate of Solar Empire Rebellion, by the way, because the other versions are technically expansions or inferior. That's the one if you ever want to check out Rebellion, Syndicate of Solar Empire Rebellion. Just remind us no one buys the wrong version. It's pretty good.
Glow in the Dark says, you need to kick V. It's the law. V was not a very good main character either, that's the problem. Like, they tried to go for a little bit of both the blank caucus, well, kind of, the blank canvas and the main character with a personality, and they kind of failed at both, which was the issue. RT Gaming 1016 says, loved the Dark Elder video. More, please. Oh, thank you very much. Maybe there will be more. Maybe. Only possibly. Charles Dougherty. The thing that sold me in Sins of Solar Empire was the unit quotes. Masa Siege Dreadnought when you order it to attack. This is how space junk is born. What was your favorite, Kib? Do you have one? Do you not know?
Favorite of what?
Quote in Sins.
Sins of Empire? Nothing of value has been found. I fucking hate that. Every time I search a planet, nothing of value have been found. Something interesting. I forget when it's something interesting. The pirates are attacking another one of our fleets or something like that. I don't remember what it was. Pirates are on the loose.
Glow in the Dark says, Dev is a Twitch thought. What did you guys expect? Nah, it's true. He's a Twitch whore. It's disgusting. He's got one of those casting couches in his home that he makes streams from. What?
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's pretty disturbing. And I do condemn it, but, you know, he's free to do what he wants in Canada, tragically. Glow in the Dark says, Kib's going to go from Internet Pirate Hunter to Internet Pirate Lord. He will have a massive server in some island or third world country of all new media. He will probably HQCQ their sites too.
This is my, like, fall arc. It's like Arthas, you know? I tried so hard to protect them, but in the end I just became the fucking pirates. I'm a pirate lord, uploading stuff and getting arrested. Bad boy vibes.
Bad boy potatoes.
That's kind of funny.
Convincing reality might be a pathetic complaint, but besides everything else for all the relationship options, Cyberpunk 2077 promised it woefully underdelivered. Yes, it really did. So, Cyberpunk promised that there would be a lot of character interaction. And there really wasn't.
Yeah. You're right.
There was a lot of characters, theoretically, like with the side characters and stuff, like the Ripperdoc and like the assistant drugstore girl and stuff. But as for characters you could actually develop a relationship with, and never mind the actual romance paths, right? Characters that you could actually talk to and interact with over multiple scenes, there were, like, what? 5? There's the Arisaka dude, there's the love interest, which there's like 3 or 4, and like that's pretty much it. Because like your best buddy, Jake, dies on mission 2 of the main storyline.
That is annoying, by the way. Because I wanted a game which was kind of like you have your companion characters with you, sort of like Mass Effect, right? Where they sort of just follow you around when you go to the areas, and that way you feel like you've got people accompanying you, and then they add commentary to everywhere you go. So that way, as you're exploring the city, you're also learning about it through the character interactions between V and your companion character, or maybe another companion character. And these interactions between these 3 or 2 characters help build the world and atmosphere. And then they'll have contextual dialogue based on certain event triggers. Because that would have been cool too, because there were also event triggers on the world map, if I remember right, where certain things would happen if you went to the right area at the right time. If I remember right, that would be kind of cool. So you have like contextual triggers, and then they'd have like dialogue there.
There's also, I feel like somehow they ran out of either time or money or interest or giving a shit, because there was that one corpo chick whose name escapes me, who like threatens you into doing a mission, and if you're a male corpo, I think, she shows up one time later and basically just gives you a booty call. And I feel like that was supposed to be a story. Like you were supposed to have more jobs from her, because you even have a voice line like saying, hey, if you got any more gigs, send them my way. And she's like, yeah, maybe. It's like, I feel like that was supposed to be a connection you had there, but it just didn't exist.
Yeah. It did feel, honestly, my overall thing about Cyberpunk is I think it should not have been released. Not in the state it was. I think everybody agrees with that. But I also think that the development time, like, they should have pushed it back, and they should have been honest about it. Their unwillingness to be honest, CD Projekt Red had lied to the consumer base. They lied to all of us. So they betrayed that trust, and they'll never earn that back. Not overnight, at least. But I think what they should have done is they should have just came clean as soon as like they realized that they weren't going to make their mark, like the timeline. But like, hey guys, like, we're sorry. Development is far behind, schedule. We've had a lot of hiccups because this game is ambitious, but we are committed to making it in its full project, its full scope, and we're not going to reduce the size of the game. We're going to have to, take a couple more years to do it. You know what? Some people would have been mad, but those people would have been a loud minority. I think everyone else would more or less be like, okay, I understand, because everybody's human. We all make mistakes. We all fuck up. Sometimes we do our best. We show up late to a meeting. Sometimes, we can't quite make every meeting or things like that. That happens. We're only human. And the problem is they chose the greed path instead. They lied to us when they could have told us the truth.
It is the problem of game development. I really hated the way they locked the romance option to genders, because this genuinely annoys me, okay? Instead of forcing gay romance options into a series, you're going like, this is a gay character, gay, 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 gay. Like that fucker from Mass Effect 3. The big beefcake dude is like, hey, Shepard, let's have like a little boxing match or something. It's like, oh, god damn it.
No,
Instead of doing that,
that's the co-pilot guy's like, my husband's dead, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I tried to be nice to him, and he's like, so like, let's fuck later, Shepard. I'm like, hold on, slow down.
Instead, just open all the romances up to anyone who wants to participate. Simple, fucking easy. Okay, you want to bang the dude? All right, go ahead. Like, it's a video game. I don't fucking care about his sexual orientation. He's a bunch of pixels. It is irrelevant. It should be about which character you like, rather than a set of arbitrary characteristics. Oh, you like this character? Well, you're gonna have to re-roll. Like, what? Why?
See, a part of me kind of disagrees, because when I write characters, like, characters have their own firm beliefs, and they have their own feelings and things like that. So they should generally stick to the things they like. And if you don't meet their preferences, then maybe, you know, that's just kind of how life is sometimes. It's part of the immersion aspect. I understand player choice, and
you can talk them into anything.
You can talk them into anything. You mean groom?
Kyle has admitted he's willing to take dick for the right amount of money.
You don't have proof of that, firstly. And second, everybody, all I simply said, and I paraphrase Bubbles in this, is that everybody has a price. It's just whether or not people are willing to meet that price. You have a price too.
Precisely. Like, this is why I'm like, okay, the SJWs, you're right, okay? Like, gender is a pointless construct when it comes to romance, okay? That's fine. Anyone for everyone, okay? Okay? There you go. Nice and simple. Everyone will be gay in the correct circumstance.
What if you make a world where no one's gay?
Well, then everyone is gay because reasons.
But I can't figure out a rationale for this, so I'm gonna it happens because it does. Okay.
I
well,
do not
at least
require a rationale.
At least you know you said your reasoning, so you know. $20.
Glowy says
20 million.
All Asians are racist. Probably true, to be fair. Tyler says, I wish we could have played the montage between the intro and the game, building up our street cred with Jackie before the heist exploding the world, before having Johnny brain cancer giving us artificial deadlines. Yes. Like, absolutely. Like, there should have actually been a relationship with that character instead of, hey, look at all these cool things you two totally did.
Yeah. That would have been nice. I see the whole Johnny Silverhand. I feel like they need to put in big name characters into a story rather than work with little name characters and then work from the ground up and build them up. I feel like that screwed them here because there was a lot of these big name characters from this IP that I never had any connection to until this video game. And I was like, I don't really care. Like Johnny was like, shut the fuck up. Get on my face. You're annoying in this game. Like that's my introduction to Johnny Silverhand, is that he's annoying and that he takes away the player's agency. My introduction to this character, if I didn't read the fucking wiki on him, is that he's just a fucking asshole. Then I don't want to deal with him.
Yes. And he remains a douchebag for, again, like half of the show plus, which is like, you don't have that long to convince me to like this character. You just don't.
Now hold on, I will give Sandro this, because Sandro has a good one. If the protagonist can't even turn the love interest straight or gay, are they really protagonist material? I like that. That's very meaty.
Like, okay. Hiccups. Not hiccups. Coughs. Ah, God. Right, listen. If you're gonna try and trick the dude into taking some dick, okay, make it a quest.
Trick the dude.
Right.
Like you have to do this whole thing where you get him drunk and you groom him for like a fucking few quests. Like this sets a bad precedence for what your character is. Like you are a groomer and a manipulator. Like you blackmail him.
Make it difficult. Sure. Make it hard. Like make it a bit of a venture to turn this guy gay. But allow it.
You killed his entire family in the end, so he would finally love you, and like you used all these guilt tripping tactics. Like you're just an absolute manipulating piece of shit. You're a psychopath, is what you are. A fucking monster.
Like months of abusive campaigning might be required, but it is an option.
And so in the end, I just sort of raped him. And it's like, okay, so the writers couldn't even figure out how to justify, so you just rape him. I was like, yeah, we raped him. Oh my god.
Make it a game mechanic. There you go.
I'm not gay, but 100 XP is 100 XP, says Tyler McDonald. You got a level.
IDW says, heard via Sargon, the only native Euros are Sami. The Sami are not European. They're like fucking Asians or something. And, okay, I saw that video too, where Sargon was like, does native actually just mean savage? I'm like, yeah.
So Barch is a native Barchian. A mountain monkey savage.
Because I fucking despise the whole Sami narrative. It's like, we're the native people of this land. No, you got here after us. Hundreds of years after. Fuck, you're not even native to the region. You're Asian. God damn it.
You're migrators. See, the thing is, the one thing I will say is you kind of at some point historically have to stop being like, oh, this land's our land, this land's our land. Otherwise you'll get in a perpetual state of like, well, this land was once this person's, belonged to that person. But, you know, let's be honest. Slovakia is basically Hungarian. Just like,
see, it's really simple. I place the line at whoever owns it now. Like, the Sami can bitch and moan, like, the Norwegians, they were cruel to us. They once executed a couple of us for a violent revolt. Like, yeah, you killed people, but they were mean. They gave us firewater.
Here, have a drink. Oh, how dare you. I'm gonna kill you now. It's like, damn. Rude.
Listen, we Norwegians may have ruled you with the sword, but no, there's no buts. That's just it. End of discussion. You were conquered, okay? Are you happy now?
My ancestors were stronger than yours.
Yes. Unironically, you are a defeated people. Now silence. We've already bent over back. Like, they have their own like government organization. There is something in the Sametinget, which is their own like a local government. They get tons of special privileges. They get to do their stupid little reindeer thing, which nobody else gets to do, by the way. They have all kinds of special privileges granted to them by the Norwegian state as they live on Norwegian land. And like, but what if we push a little further? And you know, part of me respects it. Part of me does. Like, if you can push your government to continuously give you more shit for free,
fair enough.
No, I can't. I gotta admire it. It's the only problem is it comes at my expense. Oh, goddamn the fucking Sami. Shunkatsu says, I'm off to eat some potato chips and salsa. Good day. Have fun. Enjoy
your chips
Probably
and
must have
salsa.
spilled it all over yourself.
Dumps it all over his chest by accident because we cursed him. He's like, yeah, my shirt. Sadness.
Scython Nihilo says, long-time follower, first-time super chatter. You still make amazing lore videos. Thanks for all the time and work you put in. By the way, your thoughts on OPR? Question mark. Well, thank you for the praise. OPR. Sadly, I am not sure what that stands for.
Objects, people, and reasons.
Yes, nothing comes to mind right off the bat.
I'll Google it. What was it in regards to? Context? OPR.
I don't know.
Office of Professional Responsibility.
Well,
Department of Justice.
I think nobody should have any responsibility.
Office of Planning and Research? OPR, at a glance?
Opie rules, says chat. There he goes. He clarifies. 1-page rules. I think it's theoretically fine. The thing is, if you've got a game system that feels good and you can sum it up on 1 page, great. But you shouldn't force yourself to do it. That's the thing. You shouldn't do what 40K is doing and going like, are we going to have to make all of our pages, all of our rules on one page? It's like, okay, but there's actually a bit more stuff that you could have there. You know, you could.
Yeah, that seems like I'm not gonna lie. That seems like an arbitrary constraint as a game designer. Like, okay, I'm gonna limit myself to the designs and complexity of this system because I need it to be on one page. It's like, well, but Kib, the combat system is only halfway thought out. Yeah, but at one page, I'm not doing 2 pages. It's okay.
Yeah. And I do also believe this is specifically like a group of people who are trying to simplify games too. Like GTLB has been trying this for a while now, but like there are people who are trying to make like, okay, what about this game? Could you transform this into a one-page rule set? And that's fine. Like if this is basically a fan project, which I believe, wait, they're called one-page rules too, aren't they? Like I think they are, anyways. But if you want to take a game and just like, okay, we're going to jam all of this down onto one page, fantastic. That's fan content. I have nothing against it. And then people choose to use it or not.
Use it or lose it. Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Don't you kind of also
Black
feel...
1917
Hold on.
says,
Before we move
"Spoken
past
hail
that
Arch
note-
Christ,
No.
our Lord and Savior."
It's just Black 1917. We can talk over him. He's like, what? That's what you get, Blackie. That's his nickname, by the way. I told him we're going to get canceled over it, but it'll be worth it. But in regards to the one-page rule thing, Brownie, sometimes one-page rule games, I don't know. Like, they just feel a little too simple. Like, you want a little bit more meat to it, you know? Otherwise, it feels like you're just playing Risk. It's like, okay, I roll my dices, you roll your dices. One of us wins.
Get stuffed.
That's not very fun. That's boring.
I'm sure you could have fun getting stuffed. You're a bit weird like that.
I think you are what we call projecting your fantasies upon me.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I'm entirely sure if not so, in fact. Mark James says, still raging on 343 Infinite, Cyberpunk needs split-screen co-op. And according to the statistic, we'll soon have more than 100% children born will be trans. Good. Many dick girls for Dev. Disgusting.
Split screen co-op in Cyberpunk. Well, I do think co-op would help the exploration part of the game. The problem is the secondary player does nothing in terms of the dialogue because the game wasn't designed
The
around
secondary player can be Johnny Silverhand and just yell at you continuously.
it.
Like, that'd be funny. You're in a dialogue, and the second player just keeps hammering the dialogue button.
It's like you're
Like, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea.
You know that's bad. You just like press it over the top of the guy talking. Like I have this important information to tell you, and then bad idea. It's like I can't hear what he said. It's time sensitive, and it's like, what do you mean it's time sensitive? If you fail this quest, you can never redo it. If you fail...
Let him move freely around the screen so he can just do the Macarena in front of you as you're receiving this important briefing. That'd be fantastic.
Just fucking like in front of the screen, or he's like, all right, remember these symbols on this little screen. He holds up his phone. You stay. The character model steps in front of it. This is the combination for the password. Like, what? I can't see it though. I see his fucking Johnny Silverhand's nipples.
As he begins tweaking them in front of you.
Squeaks when they do it. It's kind of weird.
Glow in the Dark asks, how much have you paid? How much have you had to pay for Kib's services, Arch? How many shoutouts does he have to live in the basement now? He does live in basement.
I personally live in the bottom floor of an apartment, so it's not the basement. It just means I'll be buried by the debris when it collapses inwards on me and I'll die. Ugh. Pancaked.
Convincing Reality says, I'd agree with Kibbs regarding the romance options if there was more than one romance option, but if you went straight or gay, even 2 options each would do. See, that's the thing, again, like, it's gotta be a quest. It's gotta be a quest. Like, even if it's a straight guy, the straightest guy in the universe, a long enough quest chain will make sure he takes the D.
Damn.
Just how it is.
I also hate relationships in those kinds of games because they always end the same. It's like they end in like, because that's the view in the Western. That's the view of the modern writer. After sex, it's the progressive view. After sex, the relationship's over. Like that's it. It's like no, like sex is, and the idea of having like you don't even need to show it. You can be like just imply that sex was had, and that's a huge character moment because that should also redefine that character because they're now closely bonded intimately now. And so it's like, okay, that should change the character interaction dynamic by quite a bit because they've bonded that way. So let's see how they interact now. And then you go up to them and later in the game and they just talk to you as if like you're like either nobody or they just have the generic recycled romance dialogue like, oh, hey, babe. And like, it's like, okay. All right. So nothing
yeah, that really
changed.
annoyed me with Judy's romance line because I was actually quite digging where that was heading. And then I realized like, oh, it's over? Like
Yeah, and
we
they
went
just
on one
end
date.
it. Like, the thing is, the romance arc of the game should actually run throughout the entire game, in my opinion.
Yes.
Until the end of the game. And I think the romance arc should actually be one of the final things you do in a sandbox RPG. Where you're just like, okay, you go and you do the final romance act things, and you get the sort of happily ever after arc that you wanted, or whatever.
But no, you go swimming once, and then it's over. You're kicked to the curb because, well, fuck you. Oh.
What a shame. What a
Bit
shame.
cruel, one could even say.
Chat, fix it. Go on there. Come on. Go on. Redo voice lines.
Glow in the Dark says,
What
Sami, I'm guessing Sami, people are Asians, so they're Finnish. I'm pretty sure they have, like, Asian descent. They got... See, that's the problem with the Sami. They're a nation of losers, okay? They've had their ass kicked by every nation they've tried to settle in. And eventually they ended up here, and their backs were to the ocean, and we were like, well, we can't just push them in. It'd be a bit cruel.
A bit cruel? You Norwegian monkeys.
And we gave them some huts, and we gave them fire water, and then they drunk it, and they got really weird, and they blamed us. It's like fucking... It's like Pakistan today, going like, there is rain everywhere! And West just shrugs, so? You caused this! What?
It's not how that works. They want us to handicap our industry so that they can get an edge over the Western. Thing is, the West can easily be independent on everything. But these weaker, pathetic nations are always trying to drag us down and think, oh, the environment
what we
is
should
affected.
do, what we should do, we should just do the whole pulling up the ladder thing, okay?
Yeah.
We should just turn to them and go like, no. We can't have it rain so hard in your country, so we've decided to unilaterally enforce green energy regulations on you. What? Yeah. Only solar power farms will bomb everything else.
Yeah, if you don't fucking
You can't do
institute
that.
these solar...
Actually, militarily, we can.
It's like, if you don't do it, we're going to start bombing your cities until you do. Reducing your carbon footprint by 3.5%. So.
No. They wouldn't say they were bombing their cities. They would literally just say, if you do not comply, we will forcibly reduce your carbon footprint. What does that mean? You know what that means.
That's funny.
See, listen, if we're going to have to be the villains in their eyes, might as well.
Why pretend?
Yeah.
America
Why pretend?
has never had a proper calling, but now could be our first opportunity in Pakistan.
Right, there they are, like, America, big Satan, America. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine.
If that's what you want, then that's what you get.
It would be a little bit cruel, yes, but think of all of the clean energy we could have.
Yeah. Think of how cheap other things could be if we make other people in poor regions develop it and then sell it to us back at very low costs.
The Germany circa 1940s plan. Very edgy of you, Kyle.
I'm surprised you caught on to that so quickly, but I'm also not surprised at the same time. But yes, that was Germany's plan. They're like, okay, we'll release all the countries of Eastern Europe after we defeat Russia. And the plan was that they'll all be small little farming communities and some reduced industry that will be dependent on Germany's economy to sustain it. And all they would be doing is producing basic bitch shit like food.
Glow in the Dark says, Arch, I like your lore videos too. Just don't tell Gibbs. He may get jealous and kick me from his Discord. He might.
I haven't
He's a
done that
callous
yet.
little cunt.
Which one said that so I can kick him?
See, So one of the problems is, okay, Kyle gave me moderators once, and then I had to kick a few people because they were funny. And then he was like, you can't do that. And then he does it himself. He's a hypocrite, he is.
I've never kicked anybody that I wasn't friends with. And the people that I have banned deserved it. It's called gatekeeping. And it's always funny because the people that are big proponents of gatekeeping, I notice, go after a friend of ours. I'm not going to name names, but a friend of ours. And that's the thing, that's gatekeeping. Abide by the rules or get out. Like, go build your own community with blackjack and hookers. Don't fucking waste my time. I built this one. This one's mine. Dictatorships are base, chat. I've learned that as running a Discord. I am emperor. I do what I want. You do what I tell you. You're doing that. And you'll like it.
Line out his 17 says, no, Kyle, he's projecting chat's fantasies onto you. Oh.
Well, fair enough.
You
Chat
wish to
is a
ravage
bit
him?
degenerate.
It's true.
No.
And finally, Kyle, finally, zip.
No.
Wolf of Badab storytelling, analysis, and introspection you did was exemplary. You should consider more of these types of videos. You have a gift for this kind of thing. You would shine retelling the Eisenhorn books. I would, but DW gets no more content on that scale. I am working on something else, though, which is, taking me a year now because I keep expanding my plans. But don't worry, it'll be great. I think, maybe, possibly.
Barch will be doing many great things in the future. Just keep your eyes open and your ears to the ground. You'll see soon.
I'm even going to do some cosplay, Kyle, okay? I'm going to dress up like a magical girl.
I haven't commissioned that art yet.
I also need to buy a new PC soon. I'm going to have to do that soon, too, yes. A big, fat, monstrous thing with 17 fans that'll just sit in the background going, Arr!
It's okay. Just put it underneath your desk. It should be fine. Mike probably won't pick it up.
Actually, the size of the PC I'm looking at wouldn't fit beneath my desk.
Okay, well, off to the side of your desk then. Get longer HDMI cables or DPI, whatever you use. Or DisplayPort, whatever. You know what I mean, chat? Shut up. Actually, it's like, shut the fuck up. Also, you got a super.
And lastly, Glow in the Dark says, just think these 3 third world countries aren't well managed. If they were managed well, they wouldn't be so bombily by our missiles. And more importantly, Pakistan wouldn't be underwater if they'd dug waterways. Because this isn't the first time it happens. Like, the country has been flooded again and again. They know this is happening, but they still... It's like the British and snow. It's like, the sky is opening and the white demons are emerging once more. Panic! As the entire society grinds to a halt. Meanwhile, in Norway, the snowplows just drive 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Even during summer, they're out like, is there any snow?
Yeah, we have a good snowplow company. The only problem is, or companies, but the only problem we run into is just there's not enough of them. There's not enough of them when it snows heavy. Because that heavy shit just covers everything.
That's your fuck up, because we literally have enough of them to the point where even in the heavy snow, there's just one, and then another 15 minutes later, there was another one, and so on. It's actually quite brilliant, but it's also the only way to keep roads open in Norway, so there's that.
That also explains your high taxes. Because the more snowplows you have, the higher the taxes.
Glow in the Dark says, can I get my money back? The thought of Arch in a magical girl outfit has caused me mental trauma. No, you cannot. I am genuinely toying with the idea of buying like a bunch of World War II uniforms for what I'm planning. That'd be funny. I can sit in front of the camera looking like a Japanese officer and then wait for the reactions. Like, yeah. It'll be fun when I get to the ESA to the European theater.
God damn it, you spicy boy. Barchak, I just like spicy sauce. Okay. Whoops. You saw nothing.
Do everything in
yet.
my power to avoid the American uniform because it's really bad. Right. With that, no, God damn it. Artemis Slutimus says, make Kibbs go play Fireware and drink tonight. Yes. You should go play games.
All my tabs are on the same window because my monitor shut off. I was like wondering, why is there so much crap on my desktop? Well, that explains it.
Quick look at Viola Davis there again and the human centipede. Good.
You're welcome.
But there, we will wrap it up for today. So thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you all again next week. And thank you, of course, also for your generous donations. Have a good day.
Bye.